demo. I'll turn it over to him. So we'll probably, the first part, Sean will talk about the different types of spray paints and how they're different from each other. And then second part, some techniques. And then later on, while he's painting the piece, so it's gonna say East Valley. The stuff in the over here is from our kids' summer camp spray painting, but we just paint the boards over and over. So while he's painting, then we can take some questions, and if you guys want to unmute, or yeah, because I don't know how to access the chat from this one. Okay, let me turn the camera over to Sean.
All right.
I think if people have questions, maybe they can just unmute and ask their question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a little bit about the paint. So this is 2 times Rust-Oleum paint. So this one came from Home Depot. So this is like pretty much what you'll find abundant at hardware stores. And then there's this one's 94. This one's hardcore. And this one is AA. So then these are more like kind of designer spray paints. Like these paints are made specifically for spray paint art. And so you'll see the difference when I start spraying. But these ones, the paint is thicker. It comes out and it kind of comes out stickier, not as runny. So the paint's thicker, it's more opaque. Something like this, you might have to hit a bunch of times, but this you could just hit once and it covers. Also, you could put these different caps on these, and these tips or these caps, they'll have different control, whether the paint comes out slower so you could be more detailed, or it's not as fat of a spray, so then you could kind of get some detailed lines. Whereas this one comes with a stock tip, and it has the stem that comes out, so you can't use any of these caps with it unless you get an adapter. And so these are, you can order online. We have some too. But what it is you put this on top of your stem, and then you can use any of these other caps that are kind of made for spray paint art. You could use those with this kind of can. So that's a little bit about the can, and then you'll see when I start spraying like how it comes out too. So first, so it says East Valley. I did the outline of what I'm writing. That's what this yellow orange is. And so this next step, I'm just going to be filling it in. And so I'm going to cover up my outline with my filling. So when you go to do a shape, you want to outline it again. And for this one, I want to do a blend. So I'm going to go maybe to here. And so I'm outlining first the shape, and I kind of want to make that outline sort of thick. And then I'll fill in going from bottom to top. And so usually what I do is when I'm doing something like this, I'll go through each letter and do this and then kind of come back. And what that does, that gives this time to dry. So and the reason why I go from bottom to top too is because if it goes on thick, I'm moving up rather than adding more paint below. So if I start to get a drip, I could kind of move up and that'll dry, and I'll fill in the rest of the stuff up here. Also, if I miss any spots, sometimes my overspray, because of gravity, will kind of fill in any little parts that I miss. So, and when I fill in, I want to put on a light coat. And so I'm about maybe almost a foot away or a little less than a foot away. And I'm filling in. And the reason why I want to put on a light coat is so that it dries faster. If you put the spray paint on really thick, it takes a while to dry, and it may look dry, but it's still kind of curing. And so if you go over spray paint that's already wet, whatever color you have underneath will eat through the top layer, and so you won't get an even coat. So.
A silly question.
Before.
You don't need any mask for this spray? Doesn't it bother you?
Well, no, because I'm outdoors and the wind kind of carries all the vapors away. If I was working inside, I would definitely wear a mask. So like it's all kind of getting carried away by the wind. But when I do like murals or like indoor jobs for it, then I'll wear a respirator because yeah, it's not good to breathe in.
Okay, I have a sillier question. I have done spray painting before for, you know, household things. My finger gets so tired.
Yeah, you kind of get like a strong like kung fu grip after painting for a little while. So then you can use the same cap. You just pull it off and then put it on another can. And so if you're doing that, what I would do is just do a couple test sprays and spray out whatever color's still in the cap. So it doesn't, you know, so when I put this color down, it's this color. If you can, you have to shake it. Best way to shake it is just kind of like this, or side to side. Also upside down. And a good rule is if it's a brand new can, shake it for at least 2 minutes because you don't know how long it's been sitting on the shelf at the store. So I'm going to blend this, but right now I just want to put the colors next to each other. And spray paint's a really fast medium. It covers large areas really quickly. So when I do mural jobs, I usually use spray paint for that. And you could also do like mixed media. So you could use, say, like any like exterior house paint or acrylic. There are different kinds of spray paints though. So the one I'm using right now is oil based. So if I was going to do a mixed media piece with this, I would use the oil. I would also use like an oil based paint, like either like an enamel or just like oil paint with it. There's also acrylic spray paints, so you could do that and use acrylics. And I have some work I could show you where I've done that on a smaller scale. And the cap I'm using with this is a New York fat cap. And so this one's really versatile because you can either get a fat stroke like I'm doing, or you could go closer and get a thin stroke. But as you, and I'll use that more when I outline, but the way you use spray paint is kind of like a formula. So the closer you are to the surface, the faster you have to move your hand. The further away you are, you could kind of slow down. But the further away, it's going to go on lighter. So if you're blending or something, you could do lighter strokes. But if you wanted like a solid line, you want to get closer. And there's kind of like it's just got to be like just right. Like you have to figure out the formula. You know, it takes practice to figure out how fast or slow you have to move your hands.
I have a question about the finishing of it. When you are done, do you have to spray a protective coat over it if it's outside?
No, not necessarily, because this paint is meant to hold up in the weather. But you could put any kind of varnish on it, like you know, like for murals, a lot of times they'll put a like an anti-graffiti varnish on it, and so that way, if anything does happen, like if there's anything that like goes onto it, they could power wash something off of it. But also the anti-graffiti varnish, it's also a really good varnish for the elements, like for sun, so things don't get sun-baked. So I kind of put an arrow at that end to fill the space. And so this is like the fill-in step of the piece.
I have a question as well. So
Mhm.
I've used a lot of that particular paint, and I've had it stored maybe for a short while, and it seems like the cans just turn into duds. And I don't think it's because the cap is clogged. What can you say about when cans just don't seem to spray at all, no matter what you do?
So sometimes, like if there's like a break in the seal, like the pressure lowers and then it can't force any of the paint out. Cans typically work better in hot, warmer weather. So if it's a sunny day, put your can in the sun for a little while and see, because that'll make the pressure higher. And then see if that kind of forces out. But yeah, like that does happen sometimes with the cans if they're older. Sometimes you could clog not just the cap, you could clog the valve. So those are the main things to do to troubleshoot for that. And sometimes you just get a dud can too. It's not that often. It doesn't happen that often, but it does happen.
But if you, before you store it, if you turn it upside down and clean up the nozzle, it should help.
Yeah, so I was just going to mention about the cap. So your caps will last longer when you're done if you turn the can open and you spray it upside down, because that clears the valve in the cap. Because then you hold it down like this and you spray it so there's no paint coming out, there's no pigment, and it's just mostly just like the propellant cleaning out the cap. The other thing you can do is you could get a solvent for the spray paint, and they make it's like an anti-graffiti solvent, and that one it's usually used to spray on the spray paint, and then you can scrub it off of a surface, but you could spray that through your caps also, and because it's a solvent, it'll eat away at whatever paint is in your cap. But caps are usually pretty cheap, like $0.25 or 50 cents, depending on. So the one I'm using right now is $0.25. This adapter you could get usually for $2, and the adapter will never clog because you can see there's a lot of paint caked on here, but it's like a big hole, so it never clogs. You could keep using this. The caps will eventually clog one day. So usually what I do is I keep my caps until I can't use them anymore, because even if they start to clog, that means like the hole has gotten a little bit smaller, and so I can get more detailed with the clog cap, because it comes out in a smaller mark, and it kind of slows down the flow too. So I use the caps until like they don't work anymore, so I can't get anything out. And then Roan, she could tell you, like, I have caps all over the place. Like everywhere in our house, we find them.
The cats find them.
The cats love to play with them. Like, yeah. Alright, so that's the first part of the filling done. Alright. So now what I'm going to do is kind of go back and blend between these, between those colors. So I'm using the same Captain New York Fat and the adapter. And so there's a couple ways you could blend. You can either go back and forth and kind of, I start spraying, instead of spread it at the edge, I start spraying here and I slowly move down. And as I move down, I keep my distance. I sometimes even back up a little bit so it goes on really subtle. And I do a stroke that kind of passes through the whole form to get the blend. So that's one way. You can also, it's called like a down blend or an up blend. So you just, since it comes out like a cone, if I spray it down, it kind of naturally blends by itself. So that's another way you could blend. And when I do this, I start spraying before, like where I want to paint, and I press down until I'm past the form I paint. But what I do is I kind of, since I start spraying here, I have the can further away and I put it closer. So it's not really doing anything out here. And then once it gets here, it starts to put the mark down. And then as it gets here, I pull away and I spray past it. And then that way, when I pull it away, I'm not getting a lot of paint out here. And so the reason I do that is because I don't have to like exactly start here and end really precisely there. So it's a way I can kind of manipulate the paint in the air. So what I do is, and I hit it really soft, like almost like misty. And what I'm looking for is like, there's a line there. I'm looking for that line to disappear, so that I just have like one value blending into another value. All right, let me grab the next color. And so the great thing about spray paint is it covers really well. So now if like, say I don't like all this overspray, I wish the blend stopped a little higher, I could use this one and it's almost like an eraser, and it kind of brings back this color, this lighter color, and blends back over into it. So I could work my blends both directions. It doesn't have to just be the darker purple into the lighter gray. You know, I could go back the other way too. So it's in this way, like spray paint's really forgiving. Like it's fast and kind of forgiving. Take the light color, light blue color. Or just blend this one back up. So it's be like an up fade because I'm kind of shooting the paint up a little bit. This one I'm kind of angling down a little bit. And so for this, I do the fill-in first, because the last thing I want to do is the outline, because then that will like make everything look crisp and clean. And so like right now I'm gonna have a bunch of cloudy edges, but when I do the outline, everything will look a lot sharper. And it's good if you use kind of your larger joints when you're working big like this. And spray paints, It works. It's kind of best for working on larger projects. You can work on smaller projects, but I think the medium is most effective when you're working large. It's hard to kind of it's harder to control. Like you need more experience to paint smaller. Like it's harder to paint smaller with spray paint than it is to paint larger. So usually, like when we have students, I start them off working pretty large. So there's my filling. And next thing I want to do is I want to do the background, because the last thing I want to do is my outline and then kind of my stamp outside the outline just to make it stand off. But before I get into outline, I want to do the background. So when I do my outline, it just sits on top of it and it looks nice and crisp. So for my background color, I'm going to use a couple of different blues. So any little parts of negative space that I think might come through, that's what I'm going to hit with this blue. And it doesn't have to be right up to the shape, the letters, because like the outline's going to lay on top of it. So it's like anything of the previous painting that I don't want to come through, that's what I'm covering right now.
How wide will the outline be?
It'll be from about like an inch to maybe, and then I'll kind of put like a 3D, kind of suggest a 3D. It's like maybe 1 to 3 inches.
Have you used this technique on other things besides two-dimensional flat panel stuff? Like, I can see this would be really cool if you created some sort of paper mache 3D thing and like did some sort of cool rock formation, or I don't know, or some ceramic piece, or.
Yeah. So this is so spray paint is really flexible, and like because it covers so evenly. So like if you're painting 3-dimensional paint objects, it works really well. We would get in the shop, we would get a lot of industrial designers, like for their models, they would get our spray paints because of the color range, and then also like how well it went on. So like you find with like the hardware brand, it goes on more watering, so it's a little more drippy. So if you're trying to get an even coat, it's a little bit harder with those. So now I'm switching to so using exclusively one of the designer brand paints. So this is AA paint. It's like a European paint. The cap I'm using is an outline, and so this is called a universal outline. And these are for sale tomorrow. There's some people at Barrios's night market that sells these cans. So they just do kind of like farmers markets and flea markets, but they're called Master Blasters. So I think their Instagram is master.blasters. And so if you're looking to pick up some of this paint, they're the only ones I know of right now that sell it in the South Bay. Because we used to sell spray paint, but we don't anymore. So I want to do a couple test sprays and so I could see the color come out. And so now when I'm outlining, my first like I'll do 2 outlines, but when I first lay it down, I'm looking to see it sharp next to my form. So out here I have a little overspray, but that's fine because I could come back later and kind of put another outline on here and kind of clean it up. Right, so let me go through and start outlining the letters. And so that sound is because I'm scraping the edge of the can right up against the surface. And so that way I get as close as I can to it. And so this was like a spot, but now with the outline, I can make it look really sharp.
We need this sign. That is just fabulous.
Thank you. And so I did kind of a connection here. I had the E kind of connecting to the S.
Could we see like a bigger view of the painting where it's at right now?
Oh, like it zoomed out.
Yeah, zoom out. That is so cool. One of our members wanted to know if you've used the technique on other formats, like a 3D piece of pottery or glass or something.
Yeah. So I've used it on like ceramics. I've painted some ceramics this way too. But it sticks to like a variety of stuff. So metal, wood, plastic, glass. Like it'll stick to like a lot of different substrates. Sometimes you have to plastic is like the more trickier one. You have to use certain paints because like sometimes the oil-based paints won't stick to it, but you have to use like either like a synthetic base paint, like spray paint, or which is this one. This one's like a synthetic base. This one's lacquer based, and then I think I have an acrylic somewhere. This one I think is an acrylic. Oh no, this is a synthetic. But this company also makes so Montana. This company also makes an acrylic based. So
I think skateboards you've.
yeah, painted skateboards.
Oh, neat.
A car.
Yeah.
He painted his friend's old car with spray paint. Like a bunch of faces, I think.
I think we need to see pictures of the car.
Do you still have those?
Skateboard or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have it in like a poster, but it's at home.
That would be awesome.
I can send it to you guys later.
Thanks. We can post it on our Facebook and
Oh yeah.
share you.
Yeah, but Roan, if you would take an end picture of this for us, we totally need this for our, I'll put it in the newsletter because it's awesome.
Oh, sure. Yes. Thank you. Can I ask you guys how we're doing with time? I can't. How are we on time?
You're fine with time. Thank you.
Okay.
I like the outlining and the fading and stuff. Boy, I can use those ideas on lots of things. Not, it's just, it's funny how you learn things in one demo that applies to so many other things you do. This is wonderful.
Yeah, like it's a good mixed media tool too. It's like you can use it with a lot of different mediums.
Yeah, I love that ombre effect is really cool.
All right, so now I get kind of my outline, and then to give it more dimension. So now I'm gonna give it a 3D. So kind of anything on the bottom and the left, I'll fill in black. So I kind of started here. So that's what I mean by doing like two outlines. So I didn't do the background here because I knew this would be filled in. And so I'm looking to get sharp edges to things when I do this. I guess that kind of got taken out. So any kind of like overspray on the outside, that's what I want to cover up. So even like how this line doesn't line up, I'll bulk up that.
Sean, that is really, really awesome.
Thank you. So I've had a little bit of practice.
And how long have you been doing this again?
Probably, let's see, probably at least 20 years. Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh wait, it's 2020, right? So longer than that. Probably at least like 25 years.
I have a little question too. Just I know that I saw that you had the underdrawing, the outline first, right? So I was just wondering if you ever do like a drawing before that on paper first to kind of decide, or do you kind of just go with it? Is it?
Yeah, so I work both ways. Like I'll sketch things out in paper. Sometimes I'll do a color sketch too, and then for that I'll use either markers or like even something like gouache or acrylic, because it can still kind of translate to working larger. I mean, definitely like for jobs and things, a lot of times, you know, the clients want to see some sort of sketch of what I'm going to do. They're really cool. Just say like, do something cool. And then I'm like, all right, you know, they give me freedom. But a lot of times I have to do kind of a sketch in like a more traditional medium too.
Okay. Cool.
And it's just, it's kind of like just doing a mural, like in the traditional sense, where you like, I could do my sketch, and then I could put a grid over it, and then when I get to the wall, I could grid it. So it's exactly like what the sketch was, you know. That's mostly like for jobs and things, because then the expectations is that I paint exactly, you know, just a large version of whatever the sketch was. So, but it's always, I think, more fun when you don't have everything necessarily planned out. Like you kind of know where you're going, but then you figure out like how you're going to get there while you're working. Because then sometimes what might work on the paper, right, like looks different when it's like on a 50-foot wall or something. But I know like a lot of people, they'll, especially for like doing professional work, they'll also like do their sketch in like Photoshop or something, and then they'll project it so it's like really exact, and that works out too. Sometimes those look kind of like almost like a sticker has been like placed on the building. Got one part of negative space right here, one part of the background.
Is it this one?
Yeah, between that Y and the E, or the T. And then so yeah. So this is helpful because then I can show you, this is called cutting back. So I filled it in, but now it's like, it looks out of place, like the outline doesn't sit on top of it, right? So I gotta let that dry just a second. And you can see other parts. So this is the importance of like letting the paint dry beforehand, because this background color was still sort of wet. And so when I placed the black over it, it got these cracks. So it should be dry enough now that I could just go over it, and then that should take care of the cracks.
Actually, I think the cracks are kind of cool. That would be a fun, like in a different application and not in this vision. But I could see how you could kind of play with that. Have you ever used that in your technique to have that kind of crackly finish as part of the like another brush stroke?
Yeah, I'm more of like a smaller scale. I've done that. Like, so I've kind of like done that on purpose, like kind of while paint is wet, or I'll keep it wet with like maybe doing like a varnish or something. And then while the varnish is wet, I'll put spray paint on it, and then maybe a different one. And so like, I know it's gonna like move. And so like, I get sort of like unexpected things. Like, yeah, so that's definitely pretty fun. Okay, so this should be dry enough now. So now I can clean it up again. I could just put my lines back in over it. And it looks like I have a really sharp graphic thing, and really all I did is redid the outline. All right, so it's East Valley, and then just to finish it off, I want to. So this is called the stamp. Oh,
It got dark pretty quickly.
I know. I'm trying to beat the light. All right, so this is called the stamp. So this is like just another outline, but not for each letter, kind of just around the whole outside, and that'll make it kind of jump off of the blue a little bit. And also I could kind of use it to clean up the edge of my black if there's anything that's needs to be sharp.
I see another outline for the outline. Huh?
Yeah. And so traditionally this is called the stamp because it looks like it's just been stamped onto the wall. And so sometimes I have to cut back over that. Like I have to do that again, I think, with the sand because I kind of cut too much into my outline.
But isn't that part of the beauty of the medium is that it's, you know, flowing and unexpected?
Yeah, so
Probably not flowing.
you could use that, but as far as like the goal, like trying to be like a technician with it, like most people are trying to get a really clean look, but personally I think it looks good when there's a mix of something really clean and something rough together. So yeah, even so these negative spaces where the white kind of fills in, I'm going to go back and cut over that with the black. Uh-oh. And so sometimes I might have like little parts like up here where like I don't really want to square off the corners so much. And so what I'll do with that, I'll kind of add like a shape onto it, like in this case like a bubble or something. And that kind of covers up maybe things that I don't want to show through. So so if you look at the things I do, there's a lot of times there's these kind of patterns coming off of it.
I like it almost gives it a little bit of a pop art element.
Yeah,
like a cartoon kind of pop art balloon.
Yeah, like it's like either like a bubble, a balloon, or like a halftone pattern kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a Lichtenstein kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is there a specific kind of tip that you use to do the detailed part?
Like a tip?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm using this one's like this is an outline, and so this is called universal outline, but this comes out in a very different spray than say this one that I filled in with. This is a fat cap, and so there's a bunch of different ones, and then there's this one that's called a cream outline. So this one's even skinnier than that one, so I'll use that sometimes. Here, actually, I'll put that on this one so I could outline with the black to kind of cut over my stuff. And so the different caps adjust both like the flow of the paint, like how much paint comes out, and then the diameter of the dot that I spray. Cover up those cracks.
did you have like a signature palette that you like to work with, or, I mean?
I use a lot of different colors. I feel like I notice I use oranges a lot, which is kind of a pain sometimes because of all this. So different pigments have different coverage. And for some reason, like it's really hard to get a good orange. Like orange, yellow, reds, like those are the hard ones to really get opaque. And so, but yeah, I'm always playing with orange, or I'm not always playing, but whenever I'm doing, I'm always like, why did I pick this orange? Like I'm kind of filling in things a bunch of times. Like it kind of makes more work for me. But I paint with a bunch of different colors. I tend to kind of pick colors based on like what I think will go together. So like I get a couple different purples, a couple different pinks, and then I did a blue for the background so that purple, pink, and blue, like they're all gonna kind of stand out against each other. So, but yeah, and then if I have things I want to put like maybe more flavor on something, like maybe this is kind of a longer, like straight kind of area, I could really quickly kind of give it like a more like blobby or wavy or painty, like splashy background. Almost like the outline is turning into paint and kind of shooting off of things, right? So I could also come back with
We probably have maybe like 5-10 more minutes.
yeah, like we don't have a lot of light. But I could put like.
I know it's dark for you, but we can still see it. So thank you.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I could put in like a shine, like a highlight.
Good job, iPhone.
Yeah, any of the, in the last few minutes of light that we have, anything that like makes your work, like the things that you love, the color palette you like to use, so that when we see it, we know, oh, that's a Roan Victor. We know Roan did that.
Oh, it's Sean Boyles.
Oh, so sorry.
Yes.
I was looking, sorry, my bad.
It's okay.
Roan is our wonderful camera woman.
Oh, Roan, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm terrible with names.
Oh, no, it's okay. Thank you.
It's actually Roanne.
I get called both. Sean called me Roan when we first started going out. And now he just calls me by my last name, Victor.
So I guess like my highlights are usually kind of shaped like this. More like oval than round. And I do kind of this wavy thing a lot. All right, and then I have some other work if you guys want to see, like, so that's, I mean, I'll probably just like work on this more and do like maybe little details, like cut back like this color over here to kind of make things a little bit sharper. But pretty much that's how my pieces would kind of come out. I can see I missed like the stamp on the inside of that, but then I have other work. I hope the phone can see it here, but these are all pieces like smaller. This is like 12 by 17.
Oh, very
and so this is like a mix of
Oh, you did that with spray paint?
Acrylic and spray paint, yeah.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of these. And then this next one is the same kind of mixture, like acrylic and spray paint.
Wonderful.
And this one, and then this one is mostly spray paint with just a little bit of acrylic for details, like for the eyes and like the little teeth. So, so the spray paint is really easy to get like this blend, this fade. So it's in some ways it could be like charcoal, like getting the blend. In some ways it could be like paint you could like mist over. So like the black of this, like it's like a black spray paint, and I've kind of like,
Let me see if I can get.
well, maybe over here in the light. Yeah.
No, we can see it. I can see it. Yeah. Wow.
Like a wash, almost like the spray paint being a wash. So it's kind of like I just missed it, so the whole thing gets a layer, and then I go back and pull out highlights again. And so yeah, so it could be.
What percentage of that is spray paint and what percentage is acrylic? Just random.
Probably more acrylic and less, like the spray paint is just kind of sometimes like I'll do the underpainting with spray paint and it'll be more, but then usually it's like I do a lot of acrylic and then I do spray paint. So like I misted the white over this to kind of make it like near the horizon, kind of go further back. And then there's also like some blue up here. And then usually with these kind of things, they're spray paint's usually not the last thing. It's kind of, it's used somewhere in the process, and then like the last layers are the acrylic that goes over it. Same with this one. So.
This is really exciting. I'm so sorry Wendell's not here. We have one of our
Wendell
members.
would love it.
He there's no box that you can put him in, and yeah, he could just.
He would love it. Yeah.
Howdy, I want to see you use this too.
Yeah.
All right. Any more questions? I can take a picture of the piece tomorrow in the daytime and probably text it to Sarah.
That'd be great.
That would be great. Yeah, if you can do that. Thanks.
So
Cool.
Sean, if I use this paint, I don't have to varnish it. Oh,
right. Yeah. You'll be fine.
Because it's going to be sitting in the backyard. It's not a 2D. It's going to be a 3D.
Yeah. So if it gets a lot of sun, you could also spray a clear coat over it.
Is this glass protective enamel? Is that?
Yeah. So those are both like pretty strong, like to the elements. But if things are in the sun, after a while, they'll still fade. Rust-Oleum's a really good paint brand, and so it doesn't fade as fast as some other brands.
So I bought this one. I bought this one to spray to cover it. So it's the wrong thing, huh?
So this one, it looks like, because the cap
it's
is
for
green,
metal, right? It said the stop rust. Is that for metal only?
Oh, it could go on wood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it could go on a bunch of different substrates. But if you look at the barcode on the back of the can, it should tell you what the color is.
Okay, satin.
Yeah, here, let me grab a can. I'll show you.
It's satin, yeah.
And also, I think it depends on the pigment. Reds, I think, fade more than other colors, from what I've noticed from Sean's.
I was gonna use orange and yellow and.
So this one, see at the barcode is gloss grape. So I know this is this purple. So so this one is called Satin Silver. So this is kind of like a purpley gray. And so if you get your lids confused, just look at the barcode because it has the title of the color.
Yeah, I think most of them I bought are satin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'll just be the finish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Roan and Sean. That was wonderful.
Thanks a lot. That was great.
Yeah.
Thank you for the demo. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I know.
And I look forward to the picture in the morning.
Yeah.
Yes.
So much fun.
Nice to meet you
Look,
guys.
Sarah's outside. It's pitch black. We can't even see.
I know.
Sarah's in the dark.
So dark out here. Mosquitoes are coming out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good night.